Good morning, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Number brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. My name is Carlina Sample.
And I'm Allie Russell.
And today we'll be talking to you about the balance of an athlete and their academics. So as a student athlete, you have the luxury of representing your university as both a student and an athlete or teammate on whatever sports team. It can be very challenging sometimes to balance your college social life, extracurriculars on top of your athletic schedule with constant practices, extra training, recovery, all the above, everything you can kind of think of. So today we brought in special guest, former teammate, great friend, new captain, Lauren Geczik, also known as LG to us as her former teammates. That's just her nickname on the team. But how are you doing today, LG?
I'm doing good. So happy to be here with y'all.
Yeah.
We're happy to have you.
So happy that you're here. It's so nice. I feel like it's so refreshing. It's so fun having all athletes in, but then when you have a teammate in, it's like, ooh.
I know. We're so excited.
It's so exciting. How we began every episode, we just like to talk a little bit about the accolades of the athlete that's sitting here with us. And so we just want to go into some of LG's career highs and stats. So sit back, relax as I hype you up for a little bit. But LG has 34 Aggie caps, including 28 starts. She has had 13 points with 4 goals and 5 assists, and then 2,480 minutes total of action. Freshman year, she appeared in 16 games for the Aggies, including 10 starts. She was SEC Freshman of the Week, TopDrawersSoccer.com Team of the Week, and then was placed in the number 8 in the 83rd spot on the TopDrawersSoccer.com midseason freshman 100 list. And then sophomore year, she started every game on the back line for the Aggies, was academic all-district 7 recognition for co-SID, and then the Texas A&M's Most Improved Player Award and Farmers Fight Perseverance Award at the team banquet. So a whole bunch of things that we get to say about LG. And I think one of the most exciting things about knowing you is witnessing how disciplined that you are. And it's so obvious to anyone who meets you. You are probably the most disciplined person I've ever met. So kind of run us through how that started for you.
Yeah, so I've always been that way. I don't know if it's there's this quote on our gym wall that we go to, and it's by Lou Holtz. It says, "Without discipline, success is impossible." And I feel like that's probably just been ingrained into me since then. And I've always been a perfectionist, and that can come with its pros and its cons, but I've always wanted to be the best in everything that I do since a young age. So the two things that mainly involve that is school and soccer. So just working toward doing those things and being the best that I can be at them is what I strive to do every day.
And you do it every day. We were talking about this before you even got here. And I feel like I said it to you when I was on the team last year before my eligibility ended, but constantly I always look to you. You lead by example so well, and even though you're younger than me, I'm you still put you don't have just waves of consistency or waves of discipline. It's consistent all around for you in every area of your life, and I admire you so much for that. So what are some ways, talk about some ways you navigate that and balance it with athletics, with school, with you coming back from your injury, with you being new captain now. So how do you balance all those? What are some strategies or processes, tips, theories?
Real quick, let me give them a background. So LG also her junior year redshirted due to an ACL tear. And so not only like Carl's saying, is it academics, it's sport, it's also kind of dealing with injury and rehab and things. So now I just wanted to give them a little bit of that background.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is knowing your goals and where you want to go in life. You can't just be focusing on what's going on that day. You have to be looking toward the future because there's so many things that are on our plate that we have to deal with that you have to prioritize your time. So for me, I eventually want to go to medical school and become a pediatric doctor. Well, in order to do that, you have to put in the work school-wise. And so that's always what I'm looking to, even when it gets tough. I'm saying if it's hard, everybody would do it. Right. So I'm in my own unique situation. I have to do what I have to do to reach my goals. And then the same thing with soccer. I want to be the best soccer player that I can be. In order to do that, I have to put in the work every day. So my life pretty much consists of school and soccer. But that's the decision that I made. And I think something that's really important is follow your own path. So there's going to be everyone around you saying, do this. Oh, like, why can't you do that? Like, no. What? But you have to be disciplined and say, no, like, I'm doing this. You have to be okay with saying no to things and making sacrifices to ultimately achieve your goals.
Yeah. And that's what I think something.
You're so wise.
It's so wise. Yeah, right? And I think it's something that is so unique about you is that you remain so confident and comforted when you are kind of faced with those like yes or no situations. Like, do I do it or do I not? And I think it's so easy to get tempted into falling into something and doing it to stray off that disciplinary path, but you do not. And it is so unique. And it's like we are sitting talking about you yesterday, and it's just like LG is LG. Like, you can never know you until you actually know you, because you are like such an amazing person. And really and truly, anyone who watches you step on the field, spend any moment that you have. I remember going into the training room for rehab, and you're sitting on there doing your homework, and I'm coming in there to just like goof around, and I'm like, wow, like that should be me right now, because I know I have homework when I have to when I leave here. And so it's so amazing, and I think it just goes to show that you really do spend every extra effort to stay on that path. And like you're saying, it comes with things like saying no. And so what is that like for you when you are faced with those instances and you do have to say no? How do you kind of like let go of the feelings of, oh, dang, maybe I do wish I could do that, but you know you have a goal in the end of the day?
Right. And I think it just comes back to, like, what are you wanting to achieve in the long term?
Right.
Because it's easy to make a quick decision that can derail you off your path. And like I said earlier, I'm pretty perfectionist. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like, no, we cannot stray. But, you know, if you make a mistake, that's okay. But you always have to find your way back, and making sure, like, thinking something through is the most important thing, and knowing, okay, is this going to be the best decision for me? Is this going to set me up for success later in the week? And planning ahead.
Yeah, you're so good at planning and so independent. I admire you so much. I don't think you understand the effect that you have on people, because like Ali said, like, you're just your own person, and it just comes so naturally to you, but you also like radiate energy so well. And I just think you're just one of those people that has touched and impacted a whole bunch of people surrounded by them, and you may not notice it. So I just want to give you your flowers that you deserve, and a little clap for you, because you deserve it. So a little earlier you said you're in biomedical science major, you want to go to med school. So what kind of inspired you to go that route?
So I've always loved working with kids, and that brings me so much joy. And the opportunity, like, there's so many professions out there, and it's like, are people being fulfilled by what they're doing? And most often the people in healthcare, they have that joy in their job because they're reaching people every single day. So what better way to help people and help kids than being some sort of pediatric doctor? And that's how I kind of got into it. And I've been able to shadow actually a former soccer player from A&M who's just absolutely amazing. And every time I come in there, I just like know that that's what I want to do.
Oh, that's so
amazing.
cool.
That's really cool. I love the connections.
I know.
It's so,
23, don't know what I want to do yet. So
yeah, amen.
Good for you, LG.
Seriously. And what is that also like? So not only do you have this passion and what you already know you want to do when you finish soccer and you graduate, and that's your next phase of life. So how do you kind of balance those two passions? You have soccer, and you also have this goal and what you already know you want to do as a career. And two of those things are incredible passions. So how do you kind of balance those also? Yeah,
so this is what kind of I was alluding to earlier with my new analogy, but it's kind of like Hannah Montana, where she has her own two worlds, and like you're not allowed to mix them. And that's what, after my freshman year, I really wanted to try to implement that, because it's easy to get overwhelmed with school and easy to get overwhelmed playing a D1 sport, like pressure from yourself, pressure from coaches all around you. So something that I try to do is, once I enter the locker room or step on the field, it's soccer time. And then after that, we got to put that away. Maybe we discuss it a little bit, go over it, but then it's time for school. So really compartmentalizing things is super key, and a good way to balance things. Give yourself time for both, but make sure once you close the door on one, you're solely focused on what you're looking to do next.
Yeah, and that's so much easier said than done, I feel like.
Oh,
that was something that I struggled with so heavily when I got to school, because I was like, goodness, after practice, I just wanted to carry it on. I was like, no, I'm either in a really good mood or a bad mood. And then it would just carry on the rest of the day, and it affects the rest of your day. And so I feel like the fact that you honestly came into college, like Carl was talking about earlier, the transition, you already came in and you could do that. You were fully capable. And I think that that's amazing. And it's just gone to show how you've already been so successful in everything that you've done, because you are capable of doing it. Yes. I feel like this is such an LG hype session. Like it just is. It's hard to even ask you questions when the whole time I just want to talk about you.
I know. I have one question.
Yes.
So we just talked about you coming back from your injury. And as we've said before, Allie and I both experienced the ACL process of getting hurt, rehab, and coming back. So navigating all of that, personally, I felt the rehab, I would feel more tired than I would have been in regular season. And it was just different kinds of a work level, I feel like, and inconsistency as well. Did you ever feel unbalanced or feel like it kind of changed your schedule or like mentality at all, trying to navigate that on top of what else you've been doing?
Oh, absolutely. Dealing with an injury is not just the physical. It's so tiring, like you said. You're spending more time at the complex than any of the normal athletes who are uninjured. So being able to have those moments of weakness where it's like, okay, this was really hard. It was mentally super taxing, because now soccer is what brings me joy, and that's been taken away. So how am I finding joy in the little victories that I have in rehab? Okay, maybe I hit this speed on the treadmill or started cutting in this way. And finding those small victories helps you mentally persevere through the whole process, because it is so long. And, there was times after games where I would just feel empty on the inside, because sitting on the bench is hard. Yeah. And like, you have to show up and you have to be a good teammate, but that doesn't take away how you feel on the inside. And then it's like, oh my gosh, I have a biochem test tomorrow. So it's just being able to shut that door and really focus. And I feel like that's where those big goals come into play, because you have to be able to set it aside. And even though it like hurts so much at that time, or you don't want to be in that situation, that's what's been handed to you, and you have to grow from that.
Right.
Yeah.
Very well said. Very well said.
I know.
All right. Okay. So now we're going to take a little break and hear from our sponsors, Academy Sports and Outdoors. And when we come back, we'll hear a little bit more from LG.
Welcome back from the break. So I have been wanting to ask LG a question for some time now, but we just haven't gotten around to it yet. And I just think that it's really important for people who may have not been an athlete, a collegiate athlete, and haven't kind of been in the shoes of an individual who has to balance academics and sports and extracurriculars and all the things that you can think of. It's, I just think, important for people to understand that it really is not easy. It may come across as easy, but it's hard. So kind of talk about some of those difficulties. And we've already talked about how you're disciplined and how you maintain that, but just how difficult it actually may be in times to balance so many things.
Yeah, absolutely. So it seems super glamorous being a student athlete, but it's basically like having 2 full-time jobs. And you have to take your school extremely seriously, and then your soccer, that's what you're producing for everyone else to see. There's so much pressure coming from coaches, from yourself, from your teammates, and you want to be performing at your best. So you have to dedicate an extreme amount of time to both of those things. And so time management is everything. And it's basically like I have a job, I'm going to work, and combining those 2 things is very difficult to manage, and sometimes you need those outlets. And luckily for me, soccer can be one of those outlets, and using your sport to your advantage there. But there's no doubt that there's times where it's super tough and you're like, how am I going to manage all of this? But just making a plan, working through it, you can show that it's okay and you can make it through.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, it's something I feel like that, at least for myself, it took a lot of time, like the time management aspect. I'm nowhere near where you're at. Like, I still struggle with it. And so that's something where, especially in the transition between high school and college, you deal with it in high school, but it's like your 8-hour days is planned for you, and then you go to practice afterwards. That's at least what it was like. I know for all of us with soccer, but here it's different, and it's still the same. It's like the workload plus some. Like there's just a ton of things, and it's really hard to actually, here we go again with the discipline, be disciplined in like planning out your days and knowing what you're going to do. And so I think it's just something that's important for people to understand, that it really does look so easy. When you come and like watch an athlete, you're watching one piece of who they are and what they can do, but there's so many things that they're balancing in the background and trying to navigate. And so just I feel like I wanted to make people aware that it does seem like it's easy, but it's not. It's hard.
And you have a problem in one, like that's not stopping, like school's still going on. If you had a bad game, well, you still have a test the next day. So you have to be able to manage those two things. Even when one thing might not be going your way, you have to turn it around and make sure the other aspect is going your way.
It's like mental like flipping all the time.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing for me was even when I had that plan, making sure I stuck to the plan. Like daily, I think that's something I'm still navigating now, is I try and plan out my days, but if thing doesn't go according to plan, then does that throw off my whole day? No, it shouldn't. Does it sometimes? It does, but that's just the process of you learning the time management. I feel like it's a cliche, but like it is real. Time management is very important when you come to college, especially being a student athlete. So you're doing great, LG. As again, I've said it like 5 times on here, you're doing great. Keep doing great. So, newly elected captain. I'm so happy to pass on the crown. Former captain, new captain. I know you're going to be great. So you being in that position, and we've talked so much about your discipline and how you handle things, do you see this as a new opportunity for you to lead in a different way that you've not had the platform to do? Or how do you plan on taking this discipline that you take from academics and your personal life and athletics as an individual athlete into leading the whole team?
Yeah, so something that we've implemented, y'all were there in the past couple of years, has been the standards. And I feel like that's been super important to elevate our team and make sure that everyone is on the same page, because a team that's not on the same page isn't going to win games. So making sure that we're strict on those and that everybody wants to be there and agrees to those standards is super important. And then also we rate every practice. That's been passed down for many years, but we're still doing that, but really putting an emphasis on, are we controlling what we can control? And that is present in every aspect of life. Can you control how you're studying, what you're studying? Because you don't know what's going to be on a test, but you can do your best preparation that you can. And this is the same thing in sports. Can we prepare to the best of our ability to be ready for what another team throws at us?
Yeah,
that's great.
And I also think, so another little something about LG, we named her La General last season and this past year because she was the accountability person for everyone. Like when it came to, like LG said, we have accountability rules and things that we want to hold ourselves to. You were the person that anyone could go to knowing you were going to hold them accountable.
Or even the like she would come to me as a captain sometime and be like, oh, Carlina, we did this. So like we said that we would do this if this happened, so we need to go do it. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize. Like, thank you for reminding me and keeping the standards. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Hey, no, that's what this is for. But I think that kind of what we talked about with the injury too, you are in a different position, you were in a different place, and you were kind of like an additional coach to all of us. And so you got to have a look at the game differently and things. And I think one area that we struggled with as a team last year was being fully disciplined game to game and knowing the things that we needed to improve on from one game where we maybe had a loss, and be disciplined enough to then go out and get the win the next game. And it was hard as the people on the field. It's hard as the people who are battling injury and you're off the field. That was me halfway through. But how do you want to kind of take that and change that narrative this year? Being a captain, you have that platform. So what do you want to look to maybe do this season that can change how we all fell to that at some point. And it's hard. When you're losing games, it's hard. Yeah. It's like a hard mental flip. But
yeah, so our coach Phil, he always talks about playing in the future. But there's also like, you have to be able to plan for how your team's going to react in the future. So that's why we came in this year and we had our team meeting the first day of practice and we're setting our standards, we're getting everyone on the same page, because we don't want to run into a situation where, oh, we've gone off the deep end, now let's have a meeting and talk about it. Yeah. We're addressing those issues before they even begin, so that way we're prepared and know what to do when those things come up. And I feel like being ahead of the game is going to be what's key for our success this year.
Yeah,
Very
absolutely.
well said.
And especially going into the spring, because this is the rebuilding period, you're already establishing that. So it's going to have a huge impact.
And with the new freshmen that came in, you can let them know, like, that's what they came in early for, right? Is to get comfortable with the team and the new environment. And so I think that's great that you're setting those standards from day one. So not just everyone else knows, but even though it's new to them, there's like, they'll have no excuse to not be on the same page with everyone else, even though they maybe came in at a different time. So very, very well done. I'm so proud of you.
Yes. I was just thinking of another story of LG. She also runs one of our drills. I think it's called the LG drill, right? The LG shooting drill.
Shooting drill, yeah.
Yes. And coaching us through it, and we have to shoot and reach a certain number. And if not, we have punishment. We have to do push-ups. But LG was our coach the whole time. Have you done that yet?
Not yet, but we are looking forward to it.
It's in the works.
Yes.
It's
I'm
coming.
Sure I
might have to come to watch.
Like, you're a general, you're a teammate, you're a coach, you're an athlete, soon to be doctor, you're everything.
And I think what you do such a great job of is you have been a natural leader from the moment you came here. You just now have been placed in a platform where that can be shown by you being a captain, but that doesn't take away from who you are as a person and as a teammate. Like I have firsthand experience with you and how incredible you are as a teammate because of injury, and how you came to me and were guiding me through a lot of unknowns that I was having a hard time navigating. And I could always count on you to be there to be like, hey, I'm doing this right now and you're going to get here at some point, or keep your head up because this is going to change. And so you have not wavered as who you are as a person and teammate just because of your platform. And I think that that's so special as well, and not always easy. I think there's some people who kind of fall to this was never you either. Both of them were amazing captains, but some people can fall to that when they kind of are in that
title, fall to the
title. And so that's something where you are such an incredible teammate first, and I think that that's so important. And yeah.
Thanks, Allie.
Of course.
So with all this being said, all this greatness, all these compliments. No, I'm just kidding. But
I'm gonna come on here every week.
I know.
You're more than welcome.
Do you have any goals for this spring or this year and overall?
Yeah, so personally for me, I'm going to be playing my first game in in a little bit over a week. So I'm so excited to be back after 10 months since the injury date. And so this spring for me is just about personal development and growth and peaking in August. So I realize, like my dad keeps saying, we're doing progress, not perfection. So working toward getting a little bit better every day and letting go of the mistakes is super key. Yeah. And then as a team, we want to win championships in the fall, but the building time is right now in the spring. Right. So how are we going to build our base, or what's our foundation going to be going into the next season? And we're going to work on that in the upcoming months.
Very, very well said. And then on top of that, so we gave you a little brief before we started. If you're able to put your college experience this far into a little cheesy tagline, what would it be?
So my tagline would be "Find a way." So
I love
that's
it.
a good one. That's a good one for you.
So whether we're talking about school or soccer, it applies in both. And so for soccer, I wanted to get a starting position. Okay, well, you're going to back up this girl. Well, all right. Well, I'm going to find a way to get on the field. Mm-hmm. Okay, now I'm on the field. I'm going to find a way to make it impossible for you to take me off the field. Mm-hmm. And like building sophomore year, I'm going to find a way to make you start me again. And now you're playing your best soccer. You're becoming a leader on the team. Oh, you know what? ACL. Okay, find a way to come back from that.
Yeah. I'm cheesing so hard right now.
Very well said. That's a good one.
That is a really good one. Yeah. And I love that. And I think that is also such an optimistic approach to it too. Mm-hmm. And it's also a lot of grit and determination. Like, okay, this has been thrown my way. Well, let me prove you wrong.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
I think you're a great example of both the physical and mental side of that student-athlete life balance. So
yeah. Yes.
Doing a great job.
Well, LG, thank you so much for coming on today so we could get to know a little bit more behind the number 17. And thank you guys so much for listening to this episode that was brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. And we will see you next week.